Hi everybody! Today I am going to be reviewing Red Rooms. This was directed by Pascal Plante. This is a Canadian film that blipped on my radar through word of mouth. It's a movie I've been meaning to get to just because I think the subject is rather intriguing. It's a psychological film, kind of a murder mystery. It's kind of a mix of courtroom drama and like slick thriller, but it has a lot of shades of ambiguity in it, yet it has startling impact, for me at least. Surprising impact. It's one of those movies where when you think about it after the fact, it feels more chilling than when you're actually watching it. And don't get me wrong, it's quite a chilling experience as you're watching it as well. But I think it's just more the possibilities you can conjure in your mind afterwards that we imagine, because there's so much in the movie that is not explained or shown. And that's part of it. This movie has a hollowness to the mood, and yet it is very tactile in its impact. And I think the movie kind of settles into you, almost like really cold, wet weather. This story is about a murder trial where the accused is said to have killed 3 young girls. They're blonde, blue-eyed, very pretty, and he did so in gruesome, horrific ways. But not only that, he did all of this while recording it for a live stream to the dark web so that customers could purchase it, you know, as a snuff film. And you might assume, okay, this is going to be one of those typical crime thrillers where it's all going to be seen maybe from the point of view of the FBI, maybe like a singular detective or lawyer, or it could be seen from maybe like, you know, a parent of one of the children, something like that. But no, we're actually seeing this entire thing through the eyes of somebody who is not connected to the case at all. They are a mere spectator. And our character's name is Miss Kelly Ann, and she is a fashion model. She seems to be a little bit obsessed with this case, and we don't know why yet. Kelly Ann is full of contradictions, and that's part of what I love about her as a character. She is as chilly and distant as she is direct and strategic. She's clearly very intelligent. She's programmed her own AI, as an example. She gambles online for money, and she does this because she says she has an affinity for numbers. But the movie is very centered around observing her behavior and kind of occupying her headspace, and it slowly starts to go more in that direction as the movie goes on. I think she represents the current collective so beautifully, just, you know, so far as millennials and kind of the beginning of Gen Z, and the way we've kind of, you know, we've used this digital world, we've lightly sketched it over our reality, and our ability to take in information, whether it is sensationalized or otherwise rather casually, interchangeably, you know, that's a whole thing as well. It's like, you know, you could have one window open on your computer where it's like you're watching some uncensored, horrific video on Reddit that you're not supposed to see. And then another window is open where you've got a squat video, like an exercise video going. We are creatures of darkness, this generation, and we are drawn to the glowing computer screen like we are fireflies. And we have more at our fingertips in terms of voyeurism than we ever have before. And with that comes, I think, a certain amount of responsibility and also sacrifice, because we end up isolating ourselves. We lose connection with what is tangible. I think we all wonder, it's like, what do we find so interesting about true crime shows or these murder trials, that sort of thing? And it's like, yes, it's a complicated answer. There's conflicting avenues. But I think just one big one overall is knowing that like all human beings have the same baseline. It's like we're all capable of the same types of emotions, the same actions. It really just depends on often how you were built, the environment that shapes you, circumstances. So I think, you know, knowing that we are capable of the same thing somewhere inside of us, it's like that examination of ourselves fundamentally. And I think this movie shows us a side of voyeurism that is more, like I said, it's more desensitized. It's the modern perspective. But what I think is key about that perspective is, yes, it is a little bit cold, it is a little bit callous, but it's not inhumane. This movie has this undercurrent. It's like you can feel the underlying paranoia of the technology that is like buzzing in the walls. There are eyes in the walls everywhere, cameras. And the effect of all of it is so fantastic. I think this is one of the better films of the year, but I have to say at the same time, even though it is quite compelling, it can sometimes also be quite frustrating. The film is building to such a climax, and we have a character that is so compelling that is taking us on this ride, and yet I feel like it lacks the emotional binding necessary to drive her motivations forward with conviction. Part of me loves the way that the tension shifts in this movie from act to act, because let me tell you, the way the movie begins, I did not see the ending coming at all. And yes, so far as the tone, obviously I think it's important for the vulnerability to not be on the surface. It needs to be kind of masked behind a fog. But the problem is we don't have that connective tissue to take us from act to act in the way that would have been satisfying for me. And yes, the ambiguity is maybe overwhelming at times, but it's the performance and the character that just lights this whole thing up for me. If you didn't have a great performance at the center, I think the whole thing would fall apart. Vibes of like a Nancy Drew for adults. She's high functioning, maybe on the spectrum or something, and a modern day Lady of Shalott. There's a lot of references to that in the movie so far as her character is concerned. But the abstraction does hinder the film because I think it limits a lot of possibilities for the character so far as like understanding her obsession. Viscera for the character is bubbling more and more to the surface, but it's like her motives feel less focused at the same time. It's like she is beginning to lose control mentally and emotionally and all of that, and yet it's like we don't understand her well enough to paint that full portrait. And therefore, a lot of the themes that she embodies, whether it's paranoia, voyeurism, sensationalism, isolation, they don't stick the landing fully. But even in all of that, there are so many things about this movie that make me smile. This movie could have gone so many cliche routes, and we've seen like the true crime thing done to death at this point, and yet it still manages to subvert your expectations. This film might be about ghosts in the cyber sense where we're undetected in the shadows, and yet the film feels grounded in this realism and this weird sense of humanity, albeit a chilly, sense of humanity. Like with Kellyanne as an example, in certain ways it's like, geez, you're dead inside, you're heartless when you look at her so far as the way she conducts her business, and that has to do with the whole online interchangeability thing. But, again, it's like she can take a joke. She clearly has stress. She has a point of view, albeit a foggy one that maybe we don't understand fully. But I do think the addition of Clementine in her life in the movie is so important. Clementine is her friend, but she's very different. She's softer. She's a lot more vulnerable. She's a lot more relatable, I think, to the audience in contrast to Kellyanne. But you can still see that Kellyanne cares about her. Both women give stellar performances in this, but the one that really stuck out to me was the main actress who played Carrie Ann. Her name is Juliette Gariapi. I hope I'm saying that right. She is, wow, one of the best performances of the year, damn. And it's such a hard role because it's like we know so little about her, so she's got to do all of that work herself, and yet it is focused on very specific behavior where it's like you've got to understand where that comes from. She has an amazing cinematic face. Her eyes are just so full of intent. It's almost like she's some eagle that is like staring at all of us down from some tall tree. There's mystery, there's intrigue, yet there's this calm, collected quality to her. Yet you can see shades of perhaps a sociopath and even perhaps somebody who is really mentally unstable. You can see some hysteria brewing as well. It's such a cinematic face where it's like she can bring out hints of warmth with just a sly smile. Very, very small, but it brings out just a little bit of softness, and it's like you want to pull it forward, but no. Then she'll take it back and she'll go back to more the intense, mysterious. Yeah, she might be even a little bit short-tempered, rude, but it's like, even when she does that, it's like it's because she's got something to say and she's hoping it'll be worth your while. Even when she's being a little bit short, teaching Clementine with the racket, it's like, it's because she wants her to have a good time. And I love that there's an androgyny to her. It's like she's got a strength to her. She's tall and she's got like a masculinity to her, and yet again the face is so feminine. There's just something about her that feels like the perfect symbol. The idea of the human side teetering right on the edge of AI and the possibility of human consciousness merging in all of these ways where it's like we don't know what's gonna happen. Internet sleuths and the way they have this whole new level of control, the way that it's like we, just normal people, can solve cases and things just with the stuff at our disposal quicker than the FBI. And it's all due to technology. We can slip in and out. We are the detectives now. And social media gives us all these new breadcrumbs with which to work with. And I just don't think like a psychological thriller or a type of like a murder mystery movie has captured that like this has. But with that, again, like I said, it comes with a whole new level of responsibility, and it's more understanding like the emotional burdens of that I felt was lacking in this movie. It's like, where is that instability in Kellyanne coming from? Where is that recklessness coming from as the tension increases? It's like, yes, a big part of, going into the third act has to do with the effect that Clementine has on her, but it's like we don't quite understand it. It's like the skip is too broad. It's like, why is she willing to go to such lengths in order to discover this? And what is her fixation with the mother of one of the victims? So again, while the viscera is escalating, my questions are mounting at the same way, and not in a good way. But I wish I could see more with this character. I almost wish she had like her own show, her own TV series, her own movie series. I think everybody should see this movie. It really will have a grip on you, I think. It's like it's seemingly brutal, and yet it leaves no fingerprints behind. There's something about that mix of what is distant and also visceral. It's kind of trashy. It kind of has the spirit of like that European art house horror stuff, but maybe with a little bit, it's less messy. I'd say it's more formalist in the style of David Fincher. If you are a David Fincher fan, I can absolutely seeing you like this film. And honestly, I kept thinking about The Conversation by Francis Ford Coppola. I found myself thinking about Harry Call in relation to Carrie Ann, but again, this is more modern era. But like I said, one of the best movies of the year, at least by my estimation. But that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to plug my website as always. It's deepfocuslens.com. I'm an artist. I do commissioned portraits and I sell prints of my work. If that is something that you're interested in, you can always go to the website below. And if you have a question about a commission or a print, you can always email me. My email is in the description box below as well. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons who are great. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Welcome to all the new members. If you are interested in supporting, the link for that is below, as well as the rest of my social media information. You can watch more videos here, and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.